So the house, the bachelor pad that I'm in, we had just watched the movie Hot Rod, and I thought, we were talking on the porch.
Great movie.
Yeah, we're talking on the porch, and we're like, why don't people do that in real life? Like some insane stunt. This was I think 2009, so it's before like GoFundMe and a lot of things being picked up. And I'm like, you know what? I have a car. I'm going to light on fire. I'm going to tell people if they give me $20, I'll light that car on fire on the internet. I raised $20,000 in 3 days and saved my house from foreclosure. Lit my car on fire. Went to jail, but. When I took that check to the courthouse steps, because we really pushed it to the 9:30 auction, at the auction, there's all these dudes in flip-flops and T-shirts, my people, right?
Yeah,
and they're bidding on houses, and I was just like, I'm in real estate. These are my people. So, like, that whole experience actually is what kind of picked me up and got me to really learn about house flipping, because I had just kind of stumbled through it. Never had a mentor, in those early days. Never went to a RIA meeting. Never did. Just kind of self-taught, just kind of figuring it out on my own. And when I saw those guys there, I just decided I'm going to make myself a part of this.
Investor Thrive Nation, what's going on? We got John Maxim on here, and we're going to talk today about flipping. And John, have you checked out the YouTube channel yet? It's okay if you haven't.
I haven't, honestly. I haven't.
Don't even worry.
I saw you on Facebook though.
Okay,
so there you go.
Well,
watched on Facebook.
Well, our YouTube channel, if you haven't checked it out, or if you're new to the YouTube channel, if you're tuning in for the first time, we get people on here. We call it expert interviews. We interview experts in the industry, ask them questions about what got them into the business, so people can learn. And Investor Thrive Nation, what it is, we're just trying to create a channel where people can go to learn and not only improve in their personal lives, but also in real estate. So thanks for joining, bro.
Yeah, no problem. I'll make sure when I visit to like and subscribe, as should you.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like that's perfect, because I'm gonna have in the YouTube video like a little like and subscribe button that's gonna come up when you said that. So, yeah, man, YouTube's interesting, but it's we're almost at 300 subscribers. I think we're like 9 away. So when you subscribe, we'll be like at 192, and then whoever's watching, maybe they can get us there.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and the goal is to get as many as we can. So, but anyway, today we're just gonna kind of chat with you about your origin story. I mean, you do a lot of flips, and I know a lot of people are interested in knowing how to get into flipping, what got you in there, just a bunch of stuff. So we're just gonna roll, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
So let's start right now. A little bit about the origin story. Like, I don't know, we've met through like social media, virtual friends, but this is our first time. So what you're gonna tell me today is probably just as much as I want to know is the world.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's kind of hear about what got you.
So unlike a lot of experts in real estate like me, this was never like, I never woke up or I never like dreamt about being a real estate investor or being the guy or that owns a hotel or whatever. That wasn't my dream. Like, my why when I was young was let's party, let's meet girls, let's have a good time. And my why has only changed a tiny bit in that I found the girl, but I still want to have fun and do all those things. And so
that's awesome, man.
So my journey is more, I always say it's accidental, which is probably the best description for it. Like, I was working at a kiosk in the mall, and I selling surveys. Like, take a 5-minute survey, and you do this. We'll give you $5 or something. And this real estate agent was like, "Man, you're good at this. You should come work for me." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I went and worked for her, and I actually did awesome that first year.
You still cool with her?
Yeah. Actually, I just saw her yesterday.
Wow.
I'm helping her flip her house right now.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of fun to give back and help my mentor flip her house.
Mm-hmm.
But she, that first year, I actually made pretty good money as her assistant, which helped my ego just kind of go. And I'm like, yeah, I can do this without her. So I made like $80K my first year just as an assistant agent to her. Wow. And then I think I made like less than 10 on my own. That first year
for real?
Yeah, so
80 to 10.
I didn't respect the SOI and the business that she built. I just ran with my ego.
Most people don't, right?
Nobody does.
Yeah, nobody does.
Especially when you're in your 20s. Like, yeah. It's easy to think you're really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a little learning lesson. And, after a couple years of being an agent, as is kind of a natural course, you see investing and you see like people flip houses. So I got into house flipping, and I'm actually, if it's okay with you and your audience, because I do several podcasts, and I've told my origin story a whole bunch of times.
Go ahead, brother.
So if you just Google my name and podcast, you probably find the long version of my origin story. So I want to try to tell it the fastest I have.
100%, bro.
See-
But where can they find you, just so they know? Because I'm all about cross promoting
Sure. The best way to reach me is on Instagram, and it's just at On the John.
on the John. Let's
John
get it.
with an H. I do every Friday. I do a flipping thing, and then on YouTube, I'm flipping off. John Maxim flipping off.
These are great names, bro.
I like the brand. I like to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so the deal was, I got married, had flipped a few houses, recession hits. I got divorced, not because of the recession or business or anything, but the divorce crushed me.
Yeah. Like you mean
I got
with properties, like they crushed you in your business?
just crushed me
In general,
In
okay.
general,
Yeah.
like it's a hard thing to go through. I'm waking up, and I slept on a bag of Cheetos, right, and they're stuck to me. Like that's how depressed and how down I was.
Yeah.
So my business just falls by the wayside, and I get really behind on my mortgage. And I'm a smart guy, and I know about loan modifications, so I get really behind on my mortgage because I know a bunch of tricks
Because you got some
to
time.
not lose it. So I was actually several years behind on my mortgage.
You made it that long, huh?
I rented out my house to a bunch of guys. I get notice that we've got 3 days until the foreclosure auction, and the bank is not falling for any of my tricks.
Wow.
So that house, the bachelor pad that I'm in, we had just watched the movie Hot Rod, and I thought, we were talking on the porch.
Great movie.
Yeah, we're talking on the porch, and we're like, why don't people do that in real life? Like some insane stunt. This was I think 2009, so it's before like GoFundMe and a lot of things being picked up. And I'm like, you know what? I have a car. I'm going to light on fire. I'm going to tell people if they give me $20, I'll light that car on fire on the internet.
Wow.
I raised $20,000 in 3 days, and saved my house from foreclosure. Lit my car on fire. Went to jail. But when I took that check to the courthouse steps, because we really pushed it to the 9:30 auction.
Were you cash flowing, by the way, on renting it out to your buddies the whole time since you weren't paying the mortgage?
Totally.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I was. That's
Awesome.
how I paid for my depressed living at the time.
Okay.
House hacking, they call that now.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, at the auction, there's all these dudes in flip-flops and T-shirts, my people, right?
Yeah.
And they're bidding on
exactly.
houses. And I was just like, I'm in real estate. These are my people. So, like, that whole experience actually is what kind of picked me up and got me to really learn about house flipping, because I had just kind of stumbled through it. Never had a mentor, in those early days. Never went to a RIA meeting. Never did. Just kind of self-taught.
Right.
Just kind of figuring it out on my own. And when I saw those guys there, I just decided I'm going to make myself a part of this. And I never looked back. You know,
just took
It's just
off
kind of been
right
my
there,
thing.
man.
Yeah.
So it took going to the courthouse, seeing the flip-flops, and the guys just chilling.
Yeah.
And you're
Just
like, hey.
realizing that's a culture that I kind of want to be a part of. You know, they're doing business, but they're doing it on their own terms. You know?
Did you
very,
find-
very punk rock, which is what I loved about it.
Did you feel like is that real, or was that just like imaginative when you saw it? Like, is that really like your people? Do they exist, but they're just like doing it on their own terms? And
Oh, absolutely.
okay,
House flipping, honestly, I think is one of the last like punk rock things out there. Like stick it to the man. I'm not doing your thing. I'm not going to college. I'm not doing this. I'm going to go out and I'm going to make my own way.
Yeah.
And a lot, you hear everyone loves to post about how all billionaires and millionaires start or make it in real estate. And it's true. Like it's just really that's the way to do it.
they do their own thing.
Yeah.
Huh?
And even if you're the guy that wears the suit every day and does your but you get to be yourself. And,
Right.
And being yourself does not affect at all how you get compensated. Whereas, in the corporate world, it does. It can.
Yeah,
And
for
so,
sure.
So yeah, absolutely. Good question. Like that really is. They're my people.
Yeah, I was just wondering because sometimes people might see that and then get into it and then be like, "Hey, that's not how it is," but that's how you found. And by the way, I started dressing up nice because I saw Jordan. I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is.
Oh yeah, I love Jordan
I'm
Peterson.
gonna go see him tomorrow. He's talking here in Salt Lake, so I'm gonna go see him. And he said he made a video about like dressing up, so I was like, I'm gonna give that a shot.
I've actually seen that one.
You've seen it?
I felt seen and attacked at the same time. But I love Jordan Peterson. But the truth is, like,
It's whatever you
do
feel.
what makes you happy,
Yeah,
man.
Exactly.
And if Jordan
exactly.
Peterson feels like a better person because he's wearing a
three-piece.
$700 three-piece, like, good for him. I want to be in shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah,
and
man.
I feel like the
I've
king
done-
of the world.
I've done both, and I do feel dressing up like, man, you feel like you're, at least for me, like when I get to the office, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling like he says, a little bit more zoned in. But I get it.
I know. I'm one of those man boys, and I have a set of V-neck T-shirts. If I really want to dress up, that's me. Like really going to the nines, and I feel a little better. I do.
I'm sure when you get that thing on, people are like, "What's going on
Who's
today?"
This guy? Yeah.
Or maybe like, "What is something special going on?"
Yeah. What's the occasion?
What's the occasion for John to wear the V-neck?
Right.
That's awesome, man. Well, would you say that's so? Since that experience, you've just taken off, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of learning curve that went with that. I like my first 5 years was hit or miss. Like I kind of did real estate, but I also kind of just donated plasma for a living. Like I wasn't, like my why was not.
Were you married when you were donating plasma?
No,
Okay.
that was after my.
Because I'm sure, like once you get married, you're like,
that's where the why comes from, right?
Right.
For me, a lot of guys like they want this success, and I love it. Like I see it in younger guys, and I just wish I could have been that guy. But no, I wanted, like, what am I doing this weekend? How are we laughing? Like, what games are we going to play? What girls am I going to pursue? That's all that I cared about. And then when I got a wife, like, okay, now I have to take care of somebody besides myself. How am I going to do that? No. Like, it's not just fun and games. And we can have a lot of fun and games in our marriages and stuff, but still you have to, like, take care of that person.
Yeah.
And then when you get kids, that's when it for me, like the first time I had, a kid, like it just changes everything. Like the why becomes an absolute thing that you have to pursue because you never cared about something so much in your whole life. And all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, just like not doing anything on a Friday night is not going to cut it anymore. Like it's just like, so anyway, yeah. So it really, that kind of happened. And then shortly after, in fact, at the time, my girlfriend was there videotaping me burning my car on fire, and we got married.
You in it?
Like shortly after. I mean, I almost blew myself up. There's some cool. I mean, if people Google my name and car fire, you'll find videos and pictures of it online.
Wow.
I did almost die. It was because gasoline doesn't burn; it explodes. So.
And did you know that before you lit on fire?
I remember hearing that in the Boy Scouts a lot, but I don't know that I respected it. Whether or not I knew it, I didn't.
We've seen it all in the videos and like the movies, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't. I wouldn't think that either, right? But so it exploded.
Oh, totally. The crazy thing is, the car started like it was turned off. The key was in my hand. The thing's burning, like, and all of a sudden, it starts, and then it died. But it was crazy.
The car started without you turning it on, or
it was fully in flames, and the fire was able to get the engine to turn over. It was crazy.
Gosh. What kind of car was it?
It was a '94 Ford Escort station wagon.
Okay,
so the beauty. I didn't.
Do you miss it? You probably miss it a little bit.
I did. I think we called that the shaggin' wagon or something, the bachelor pad even. But it
for
was
sure.
It was a cool little car. But I mean, it served its purpose for sure.
So, did you burn it to raise the money, or it wasn't running right, or you just were ready to get a new car? Like, what made you want to burn that specifically?
No, that was my car, and it was the only thing I could think of.
Okay,
like
to raise the money.
People do crazy stuff.
And it to raise the money?
Yeah.
Okay, was specifically.
Back then Facebook wasn't like. Only 30 of my friends were on Facebook.
Right, MySpace was
MySpace was big, but I was writing a blog. That's how how it was a long time ago, because blogs were like the thing. Everybody had a blog. Like now everybody has TikTok and Instagram, but back then it was a blog. So I wrote this big blog post, and I literally said, hey, we do stupid stuff in America. I'm stupid. My house is behind. I can't save it, but you guys can. And I believe that so much that I believe if I light my car on fire, that you guys will. We called them lonations at the time. You guys will give me a lonation of $20. If enough of you guys do that, I'll light my car on fire and we'll save my house from foreclosure. And it totally worked. I mean, it went viral.
That's amazing, brother.
3 days. It was crazy. $20,000 in 3 days. It was wild.
I'm a part of a couple of Facebook groups that teach wholesalers and brand new investors, and they give away some of the big guys. Like I think one guy gave away a car today, and another person like $10K. I know you got something going on with the treasure hunt. Are you exploring more ways to do stuff like burn a car? Not necessarily burn a car, you want to go to jail, but are you exploring other ways to do stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the car fire thing was, that was years ago, right? 2009, and things have changed a lot, and marketing budgets are a whole new world. Nowadays, marketing and giving away a Tesla is better than paying for billboards, because it gets you a social media presence and stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, I've kind of committed to this whole treasure hunt thing where we and part of the thing we love about it is, Instagram giveaways and social media giveaways, like a lot of things in the world, they're hard to trust. Like, sure, they picked somebody out of a hat, but who knows?
Yeah.
Like, and it's amazing how often the story is the perfect story, or it's a friend of somebody, or So the thing I love about the treasure hunt in that whole giving back is it's really just whatever.
I agree with you.
It's not. There's no me. I'm not like picking my friend's sister or whatever. I'm just burying treasure in the ground and letting everyone have like a great time finding it.
Yeah.
And it's proven to be it had a lot of cool side effects that we didn't kind of plan on in the first place, of just like making people happy and work together as families and stuff like that.
And just, you want to kind of let Investors Thrive Nation know what got you started with a treasure hunt? Like, what was the purpose?
Yeah, a wholesaler who I had built a relationship with just because he had wholesaled me deals, calls me up one day and he's like, "Hey man, I want to bury treasure in the ground." And I was like, that sounds super fun. And it was COVID and everyone was stuck in their houses. And we just thought, we talked it out. We're like, man, it's it just get away for people to get out. I mean, this was like in the early days of masks and 6 feet and all this kind of stuff. And we had gotten stimulus checks that we kind of didn't think we deserved. I mean, of all the people on earth, we're fairly good at what we do. And why is the government just handing us money? So we're like, let's just bury it. And one more thing that just kind of was more popular than we ever imagined. So we've done 4 treasure hunts now.
Dang. What have the prizes been?
We started with 5, and then we went to 10, and then we did a kid treasure hunt that was a little different. That was more like a geocache, where, but for the kids. And then we did a $20,000 one most recently. So. And
has every time, do you feel like it's growing the amount of people that do it, or is it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so it wasn't like the first one was just like the biggest hit. Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge. People love it.
That's awesome, man. I've seen those, and I just don't think I would be good at following clues.
Dude, and the more successful you get, it takes a lot for you to have to get out and go hiking in the mountains. I don't know that I'd go hiking for $10,000. I'll bury it, but
you'll bury it. Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm going to get out and do that. So.
And you probably had a lot of positive content that came from that. Do you have people that like recording themselves as they're looking through the treasure? That like, do you have stuff like that where people would like record?
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, Instagram is it's like a full-time job when we bury a treasure because it's nonstop.
They can probably
people
hashtag,
tagging us
right?
and hashtagging it and sharing stuff. And, we try to egg that on and help people. We've built relationships with this whole community now of treasure hunters and stuff. So it's turned into a really fun.
The real question I have for you, sorry to interrupt. The real question is, do you get any deals from it?
I've gotten deals from social media a lot. I haven't gotten any deals from the treasure hunting.
I bet you will.
That I know of. But at some point that's going to happen because, I do have, probably 25% of my followers all comes from treasure hunt stuff. Yeah. And one of these days, one of them's going to want to invest with me or
100%.
send me a deal or whatever.
It's weird how it works like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you met someone through this avenue, which is completely unrelated, but they're like, hey, I got a fourplex and Vernal or whatever.
No, totally. And from my Instagram, people are amazed. Like, I've gotten a whole bunch of new private lenders, and last year, like I think I told you, we did 86 deals in 2021, and 8 of those deals came straight from Instagram leads. Just
amazing.
Literally from people that think it's funny when I post a hoarder house.
How does that feel, man? Does that feel awesome getting deals from just social media where it's...
Yeah, it feels good, but the pressure's on because then I'm like, oh, I actually have to do this social media stuff. It's not just like for fun. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I got to do Flipping Friday again today because what if I get 6 houses or something?
Yeah, yeah, I can see how social media becomes like maybe you're just doing stuff for fun, but now it's like it can be a headache.
Yeah.
Do you run your own Flipping Fridays, or do you have like a social media manager or someone that like?
Yeah, I do it all. I do it all on my own.
Wow.
Yeah, for now.
That's awesome. I've seen your Facebook stories, right? And then you convert them to Instagram.
Yeah. When you post it on Instagram, it goes on Facebook.
Those are impressive, man. You've done good. Like the music, the editing, like.
I have a film background. I went to actually Slick for film back in the early days. So.
Not specifically for your stories, but
no, okay. but then it helped when I finally started doing stories because this was ages ago.
Yours are impressive. I think I've seen like different like stickers. I don't know what you call them, but like different effects in there.
Yeah, I love the special effects. I like to make it cinematic.
It's
because
good.
if people are going to spend, dude, one thing that Instagram taught me that I never imagined is how boring 15 seconds can be.
Yeah.
15 seconds can be so boring, right? Like, it's amazing. And so if people are going to watch me, I really want them to be rewarded with something that's not boring. That's that's my main focus is, okay, I want this to be a cinematic. I want it to be experience. I want to throw the music in and the stickers. I'm not just going to sit there and chit-chat and talk. And
yeah, like the hey, this is John, like you're kind of over that. You want to give them something juicier.
Yeah, I want to, I mean, I did that for a while, and they're over it, you know?
Yeah, they want.
Plus, that's precious time. I always tease my peers who are trying to get into social media that do the, hey, guys, it's me. Like, you just lost 3 of your 15 seconds just doing that. They're already watching you. You don't need to introduce yourself every time. You know, like, there's just little things like that.
Hey, man, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, guys, it's me. Like, don't.
I go, hey, this is Real Estate Nate.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. So on Flipping Friday, I do that on the first one only. Okay. But then the rest, it's, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I got a green screen because I think green screens can be pretty funny.
They're so fun. Yeah. I do some green screen stuff.
Green screens are great. Yeah. So that's, you got to have fun with it. I feel like, you know, there's so much information out there that unless you got like a little edge to it, or, I mean, anyone can, even if they don't do wholesaling, fix and flip, they can act like they do. You know how it is.
And they do.
Yeah, they do it.
They do. A lot of factors out there.
Yeah.
The internet is not real, people.
Yeah. Factors, is that what you call them?
Actors. A lot of actors.
Oh, but like fake actors?
Oh, factors. Sure, I like that.
I think you said factors, right?
I didn't, not on purpose, but I'll trademark it if you want. Yeah.
I like that, factors.
Yeah.
Well, my big question for you and for a lot of flippers is like, as a wholesaler, like we spend a lot of money on marketing, but you don't do that, right? You don't like have like cold callers, mail, texting, right?
Right. I mean, I've had a long career, and I tend to kind of go where the market goes, or I try to pivot. I try to like find out where deals are coming from. And right now, I mean, we did over 40 wholesales in 2021, and I didn't pay a lick of marketing, unless you count the time I spent on Instagram.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
right? That's amazing.
And one of my favorite things to do is to wholesale a wholesale. I love,
and they get fired up about that.
My wholesalers get fired up about it. Yeah,
I saw a conversation that, and I laughed at that.
Some new wholesalers can really take that hard, and even now there's some wholesalers that like, we don't allow daisy chaining and blah, 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 blah.
Do something about it.
We all grow up. We're all grown-ups, and, like, if I can sell a deal that you can't, it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of them think, oh, you took money off from me. Because if you sold it for $10,000 more than I sold it to you, I could have sold it for that. But
bro,
that's the exact same thing you're doing with the
fact
seller.
That
like,
a wholesaler would even
it's kind of funny.
Bro, they won't last, in my opinion.
They won't. Unless they grow. Which the wholesaler you're talking about, which people can find on my Instagram, that story.
I don't know who it was. I think
he's grown.
Okay,
so it was an emotional.
Put him in his place.
It was an emotional time, but now he's still in the business. We still work together. You know, I don't let people know who he is, but he has grown, and you know, we all do.
To get upset about someone making money when you made money, that's like so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Because even like you run into the flippers, they're like, oh, I only let wholesalers that bring me make this much. I'm like, we can't work together, bro, because I don't care how much you make. You shouldn't care how much I make. Yeah. And then wholesalers that care if you wholesale it, you just didn't. You accepted the offer,
right?
Yeah. So
it's fun. So you know, with me, I mean, I've been wholesaling since before wholesaling was a word,
let's
right?
Talk about that.
And even some of the big wholesalers here in Utah that I'm friends with, you know, like Andy McFarland and Matt Oviatt, like I got to see how the recession hit them and how wholesaling works in a down market, which a lot of wholesalers now don't even really know what that looks like, you know, and so, you know, my system is much different and not as easily replicatable because it's based almost completely on my reputation in my market, where I have a very short list of guys who I know are buying, who know me, who know that I know what I'm doing, and I send a 3-line text which says purchase price, which is the price I'm offering it to them for, estimated ARV, which is what I think it would cost me to do it. I'm sorry, estimated rehab, and ARV. That's it. Oh, and the address. So 4-line text.
Text.
Those things.
Email too, or just text?
Just a text. Okay. I don't send them pictures. I don't send them videos. if they're interested, I let them, figure out how to get them into the property or whatever. And then I just say, take it or leave it, man. And if you don't want it, I'll send it to some other guys. I usually give them 48 hours or something.
You got 4 minutes.
And and I let everybody know, like up front, like this is how I wholesale. And then if they, if I send you 2 or 3 and you don't buy them, then I usually take you off the list. Just because I don't, when I get a deal, it's a deal. Mm-hmm. And I know that if they don't buy it, I'm just gonna take it down.
Yeah.
Which gives me so much arrogant power, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's like hey,
it's just
I
like
don't
whatever,
need you.
Whatever, man. You want it? This is a good deal. Take it. And if you don't, this is not a good deal. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why I'll wholesale. Maybe I can get a great amount of money. Maybe I'm pretty overextended on my crews and guys flipping houses and stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the headache to profit ratio is a little too low for me, but I still know that there's money there. And there's newer guys who headache to profit ratio isn't as big of a deal to new guys, right? They're willing to take it on if I send it to them and they know that it's a deal for me. So, I of my 40 wholesales, probably 10 or 15 of them were other wholesalers' deals that I just kept up and then turned around and marked it up.
We call it JVing, but JVing is like you tell them, right? But you're basically just like, yeah, I'll buy it, and then you just wholesale it, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter because you fulfill your end of the agreement.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So that's, would you say 10 to 15? Where would you say the other ones are coming from? Is it from
lists, the MLS? I do a little bit of marketing here and there. Just kind of, like I said, depending, like right now I think notice of defaults are getting kind of big again. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to more notice. And I haven't touched notice of defaults for like 4 years.
No, because there's been like 10 a month. Yeah. Maybe.
But they're starting to pick up. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with, here in Utah, like taxes. Mm-hmm. People's taxes, like their escrows just going up. Their payments like just magically going up like $300 or $400 a month. Dude, that shuts people down.
Yeah.
That can
sure.
the average man, that can knock him right off. And so notice of defaults, so I've started buying lists and calling notice of defaults.
You yourself calling them, or do you have a guy? Or
I have 2 avenues. I have somebody that I'm training, that's going to come work for me, probably doing acquisitions as I see the market kind of turning more towards me wanting to actually call on some of these and do some of that work. Where most of the time I'm happy to let the wholesalers do it with all the marketing that they spend. But and then I also have somebody who has a company where they'll call, if I provide them the list, they'll do the calling.
Is it Dave?
And then provide, Dave Klein.
Okay. He's got his cold callers in Peru, wherever they're doing it.
Yep. So they're we've just kind of started a couple campaigns on that. And so, and then when I get those, a lot of times if I get it direct from seller off some marketing like that, there's a lot more room for me to wholesale it. And
that's where the big spreads are, right?
Yeah.
So when you have Dave's squad calling for you, do they push you a lead and you have to negotiate it, or do they do the negotiating and then just...
And I have to negotiate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been getting a lot of leads that you've been having to call through?
Yeah, and I have someone on my team that will do it, or I actually, negotiating is one of the things I love to do, so I don't mind that part, but a lot of times I don't have the time to build the relationships with the sellers that is needed to really negotiate. Yeah. So a lot of times I'll have somebody on my team that does it. But, it's... The lead comes in, we try to get to it as fast as possible, and if that's me or if that's them, we do what we can.
That's awesome, man. So you got, just so I can outline it, because I am very curious on how flippers maintain, getting deals and being consistent, because, with wholesaling, we do 5-6 deals a month, but it's through a lot of marketing, right? So you're doing that kind of volume, and it seems because your relationship has grown, a lot of people know what you do. But you said you make on-market offers to listed properties as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have an agent dedicated to making those offers for you, or are you making those?
I usually make those on the MLS. There's, especially now where there's just not the inventory. Mm-hmm. If I see a deal I like, I call, because I can out negotiate most people with other agents too. And I'm a licensed broker and agent as well. So I do. I mean, I'm happy. I love agents, and that's another avenue that I'll use. But straight to the MLS, I usually do it myself.
Okay. So you got MLS, you got lists. Do you check all the blasts that come out every day from the wholesalers that you're on? Or?
Yeah, I actually have a VA that that I've taught how to run numbers my way on that. Mm-hmm. Who just has a spreadsheet, and so then I look at the spreadsheet and it's color coded, and if it's the right color, then I call the wholesaler and make an offer, and if it's the wrong color, I don't even pay attention to it.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
How many do you make offers on that are they're asking too high, but you're like, hey, you know what? I think they're just trying to be greedy. Let me just give a shot anyway. Do you do that a lot?
I do that a lot. In fact, I have a pretty good reputation for doing that.
Yeah. Because I mean, how many?
And it works great.
Yeah, wholesalers. Dude, I've seen some of these deals. I'm like, that is not a deal at all. And I'm sure you guys are trying to get, $60K over what you even got it under contract for, because you're trying to be. I don't know what you're trying to do, but it's not a deal.
But making that offer is important because relationships is everything in real estate. Everything. And relationships with wholesalers is everything, even if they're dumb, even if they're greedy. Like, that relationship's important. So I like to call them and say, hey, man, because I want to get to know them. And if they know that I'm making them an offer, even if they get offended or whatever, and I do that over and over again, I get to know those guys. And the truth is, I mean, I know like Tom Kroll and them and a lot of the wholesaling educators teach, like, do not be friends with your cash buyers or you end up working for them, which is cool.
Yeah.
I totally get the reasoning. But I get more deals by the wholesalers who I know them, I know about their family. And I mean, it's the exact same thing that you guys teach to do with sellers.
Dude, it's
like, you just get to know them.
Yeah.
And you build that relationship, and maybe it takes 6 months or a year, but then wholesalers start giving me deals. And when they can't sell one, they call me and they're like, dude,
I can't help.
I can't sell this deal. What would you pay for it? And I
Yep.
give them a number and they sell it to me, and so it just doesn't do anything to, a lot of flippers will be like, screw that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Or these greedy wholesalers, they blah, 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 blah. That's
right.
It's not, I mean, that's not how anything works. So
No,
why would it work with that?
I mean, that's how sellers are, right? They want as much as they get. Everybody
Right.
does. Everybody does, right?
We all do.
So you got to just talk to them about
Yeah.
it. Because I've been thinking, like, as a wholesaler, I think there's so much power in being the buyer and letting people know you buy, right? Because then you get the reputation. But not a lot of people. I mean, some people do. Like, they'll reach out to Brian and be like, "Hey, can you help me move this?" But you, I mean, been in the business for a while, and you getting a lot of deals just from being known as the guy, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's had a lot of success and power by being like, "Hey, I buy," instead of like, "I'm just a wholesaler"?
Yeah, I mean, and that's how most wholesalers market themselves. And so they, I mean, to motivated sellers, it's kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
right? But in the network that I work in, and I'm mostly local. We talked about you do a lot of stuff outside, and I think that's cool.
Right.
But in the network that I'm in, mostly local, like it goes a long way.
I think
not
so.
only being the guy that does a lot of it, but dude, I love to get on Facebook and joke around and be like, constantly on Facebook, almost every day. Somebody's like, I'm getting into wholesaling. I want to build my cash buyers list every day, right?
Every day.
In fact, there was a while when I was blasting emails out, and all I did was go on Facebook and just search cash buyer, and I just took every email, which I'm sure a bunch of people did.
Yeah, of
I didn't even
course.
have to make the post, right? But I love to get on there and say, here's my email, and by the way, I pay more than everybody else here. Even though that's not really true, but I like having that reputation because that wholesaler is going to be like, oh, maybe we should send it to this guy. He's going to,
This
and
guy's
then
a big guy.
It just starts building the relationship. It's the same thing. So I think there's a ton of power, and more so than being the guy, but always following through on what you say you're going to do. That's huge because there's a lot of cash buyers who try to renegotiate after they've given a number or don't follow through or just be like, dude, take my earnest money, whatever. And that I mean, one of those does more damage than you buying 3 or 4 bad deals, honestly.
Yeah, and that's interesting for people that are brand new, right? Because when I'm or wholesalers are marketing to sellers, you're the guy, right? But then in the community, you're like, oh, I'm just a wholesaler, right? But I think being like you, the buyer in the community, in the network, like of Utah or wherever you're in, that's you need to be the buyer, right?
Yeah, I mean, it helps.
It helps.
It definitely
yeah.
helps. Yeah, with negotiating and stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I think even if you're, as a wholesaler, if you're just like, oh, I just move properties, I think if you look at stuff as a buyer, you're probably even become a better wholesaler because, like, hey, I'm willing to take this down, so I better know it's a good deal. I think a lot of wholesalers now, they're just like, let me just try everything. It's like, bro, would you take that deal?
Yeah, although, for new people, I'd say to be careful with that because you're right. You're not wrong. But you got to be careful with your assumptions, too. Like, I think some wholesalers do better, especially in the beginning, not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because, if I know that a wholesaler's estimate of rehab is probably garbage. Like, how many houses have they actually flipped? Probably zero.
It's always
Like,
30, isn't it?
Who knows?
20 or 30.
It's always 30. The spread's always 100 and blank, whatever. So every legitimate cash buyer is going to do their own numbers no matter what.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, as a wholesaler, especially if I'm new, I wouldn't spend too much time trying to figure that out because what you really need is to get deals.
Yeah.
To get deals. So maybe take down some bad ones. I mean, you're not hurting me any because
That's
I know
true.
if it's bad or not. Like,
yeah.
But you might spin your wheels a little too much on a bad deal. It definitely helps to know like what my as a cash buyer, like what I want and stuff. But when you're first starting out, I would be careful, because wholesalers get into the same thing as flippers, analysis paralysis, where they're
very true.
They're just gonna sit there like, oh well, how much is the rehab really gonna be? And this guy's telling me it's 60, and this guy, who cares? Who cares what they're telling you? Just freaking sell a deal.
Yeah, and do you feel like if they are just trying stuff, do you feel like that would well, let me just go back. When we're wholesaling nationwide, sometimes we don't know a market very well, and the numbers will make sense for us here in Utah, but maybe they need a bigger spread in Missouri because Missouri, properties aren't as nice. They probably cost more, and so when you send that out to a buyer, do you have a lot of guys that are like, "Hey, what price do I need it at?" And do you help those like noobs? Sorry, it's kind of a bad way to word the question, but do you have a lot of new wholesalers ask you for your advice and you give them your time where you explain to them like what would make a deal?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm happy to share with them. And I think for the most part, most people are. I mean, like I said, some cash buyers get a chip on their shoulder because I can't believe that guy made $50,000 wholesale fee, whatever. But for the most part, I think those of us that are mature about it, are happy to help. And I do. I think wholesalers should definitely be learning, but they don't want to be like they don't want to get trapped in the box of like having to have accurate information at the same time. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with a wholesaler getting it under contract for what they can get it under contract for and trying to make 10 to 20 grand on it. Because I mean, I know you guys are working on lists of 15 to 30,000 people or more. Like who knows? And you never know, like assuming things can really burn you. And so, the more we learn, I mean, obviously now I'm at a point where I wholesale with a 4-line text, right?
Yeah.
But that's because of all the experience backing me. So I don't have to worry about what my deal is or anything like that. But in the beginning, man, I made a lot of, I was wholesaling all kinds of crazy crap, and sometimes it wasn't working, and then I would learn, and you learn. So I'd say it's better to learn and mess up than not learn at all.
So I guess the advice for new people in Investor Drive Nation is if you have a deal and you're not exactly sure, talk to the cash buyer and be like, hey, if it doesn't work, can you kind of fill me in and maybe make that relationship? Because, I mean, it sounds like you'd be willing to help.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's a lot of cash buyers.
But don't be afraid to just blast it out either. If you can't get any cash buyers to give you advice, just blast that thing out and see what happens, man. Like, what's the worst? Like, I'm going to call you and be like, you're an idiot? Like, who cares?
Yeah, you're right. It's true. So what's your opinion on the trajectory of the real estate market, not only here in Utah, but in general? Do you think we're going to start getting a lot more inventory? We're going to see a lot more pre-foreclosures coming? Like, what's your vision of what's going to happen this year?
I think this year in Utah is probably going to be fine. I mean, things are just kind of happening the way we thought that they would so far. I mean, it's only March, or it's already March, depending on how you're looking at it, right? But things have kind of gone the way, and I do like that I'm starting to see some people kind of doom and glooming, whereas like last year, it was just like nothing can happen. We're invincible, which is always a telltale sign, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in the market was like that. I think Utah is a market that's pretty insulated. However, like we've seen unprecedented inflation. And we've seen it in everything, which is actually kind of helpful because if only real estate was inflating and everything else was staying the same, that's scarier than if my cheeseburger's inflating and my house is inflating. Like everything's going up together. And that's because we just printed money for 2 full years. Like, of course. Like, I hear all the time, us flippers are like, oh my gosh, I made $100,000. It's my biggest flip of all time. And I'm like, well, you only made 50 because the dollar's half as much as it used to be.
Right.
Like, you
doesn't go as far.
You kind of got to be careful with what you think. So, I mean, to get more simple on the question, I think real estate in Utah is going to be fine. I think that there are some other markets which could have problems. I've done a bunch of stuff up in Boise, and Boise's an amazing area, but if there's some sort of crash or bubble, like what does Boise have? Whereas in Utah, we've got like the Silicon Slopes, we've got Park City, we've got a bunch of all these things, and so Boise, some of the investments and the inflation up there, like it's hard to boggle. And I don't know a lot of outside markets. I mean, Boise's been an amazing market and could still be for a while.
Right.
But when the market crashes, I just kind of wonder what's sustaining all that inflation. Whereas in Utah, I feel like we've been a little more insulated. In states where everyone's leaving, like New York and California. I mean, in 2020, we sold over 100 houses, and every single one was sold to somebody from out of state. Every one. Every house we flipped. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like 70,000 people moved to Utah in 2020.
That's wild.
That's ridiculous. So anyway, I think there's still that kind of exodus is still happening. So I think Utah's okay for a time. But at the same time, like inflation can't happen forever. And people think it can, but it can't. So I do think in the next couple years, we're going to see some sort of correction. Now, a lot of, when markets crash, they kind of crash based on some industry. The Great Recession, it crashed based on real estate. And so real estate was hit hard. But, before then, it's like the dot-com crash, and we have ones that are based on stocks and all these other things where if you look at real estate, it didn't get hit as hard as the Great Recession. So do I think a Great Recession's coming where real estate's going to be the cause? Absolutely not.
Too much equity, you think?
Well, I don't know about equity, but too much qualification. Like, I was a mortgage broker for a time in my career, and so I've seen all the people that have bought all my houses.
Yeah.
They're qualified. There aren't garbage loans out there.
Right.
I mean, I'm starting to see some. But for the last 10 years, there haven't been the garbage loans that led to the Great Recession.
Right.
So if the market crashes, all these people were qualified for their mortgages. So we're not going to have 80% of homeowners not able to afford their mortgage.
They'll figure
We're going to
way
have
out.
20 or 30% who lose their job and they can't qualify anymore.
And we'll be there to take over, right?
That's right. So that's one thing I always tell people is I'm super excited for a down market.
Well, yeah.
I went through the last Great Recession and I wasn't ready. And what you need in a recession is liquidity or lenders who have liquidity. And I didn't have that. I had a lot of conventional funding at the time, and I got killed. And I got 19 foreclosures on my credit back in 2009. We short sold a bunch of deals, but it was a nightmare.
That's crazy.
And but shortly thereafter, as soon as I could get lending again, 2010, 11, 12, things exploded. I mean, that kind of market is different because people still need a place to live.
Yeah, for
People
sure.
still buy houses. So now you have to make the house the nicest. I mean, this is kind of what HGTV was really born out of. You really have to have the nicest house. Right now, I don't have to have the nicest house. I don't even do my yards right now. I leave.
So you've changed the way you're flipping right now.
I completely changed what I'm doing. I have to do huge remodels, and I have to create value that way on the house. But there's certain things like fences and driveways and yards, curb appeal. I almost don't even bother with curb appeal right now.
Wow.
Because all I need to flip a house right now is a house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in a down market, I have to make my house the best house because people are still buying, but they're only buying what the best house is.
Right.
But I can do that for $30,000 because all I have to do is shampoo carpets and change. When the market's going down, if you buy correctly, you don't have to do these massive remodels to create value. You're creating value just by making your house one of the best houses on the market. So it's a different market that I'm excited and ready for. But I think more than likely we're going to see more of a flattening and then a down because so many people were qualified and so many people can just hunker down and stay in their house for the year or two that it's going to take for the correction to kind of run its course, or 5. I mean, people with their equity and the way they were qualified for mortgages could hunker down and stay in their house for 5 years. Almost everyone we know literally can do that.
It's true.
I mean, maybe they lose a job, maybe they don't have reserves, things like that, but I think the percentage is so much lower that we're going to see more
I
of a
agree with
flattening.
you. I agree with you. I think there will be some, but pre-foreclosures coming in, but yeah, not like before. I was in high school when that crash happened, so
Yeah.
I'm not really familiar with how it affected the real estate market, but it sounds like you were in the thick of it, huh?
Yeah, I wrote it. One thing I love to tell people about that is when real estate crashes, it crashes slowly. I get people all the time that are like, no, my McMansion up on Draper, dude, it lost 30% overnight. That's just not true. It's not true. Like real estate's a slow moving machine. I mean, just the time it, like with stocks and things can get sold like this.
For sure.
With real estate, it takes you 45 days in escrow. Like things don't move that fast. And so when the market went way down, it took like 3 years before it hit that bottom that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
So you have, and if you're in real estate every day, we had like a 6-month head start where we knew it was crashing before it ever hit CNN. Now, the thing that makes me a little nervous about the next crash is when COVID happened, it was like instant worldwide because of social media.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're going to get a 6 start like we did
because the
in
news spreads
2009
faster.
because news spreads so fast that I do
good point.
think like one day I'm going to be like, oh crap, the market's crashing. And in less than 10 days, everyone in the world is like, might even hear me literally say it because of social media. Like you just don't know, right? Yeah. So I do think we need to be prepared for things to move faster than they did the last time around. But at the same time, like real estate doesn't crash like other markets because of the way we buy and sell it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, man, you've given us a lot of gold nuggets today.
Too much.
Man.
Sorry, man.
No, it's been great.
You get me going, I'll talk forever.
No, this is great because everything I'm asking you is stuff that I'm interested in, and I feel like if it helps me in my business, it's going to help everybody. You know.
Yeah.
So let's end with just one thing because this is I did a poll on my Facebook group. I don't know if you're a part of my Facebook group. Are you?
I think I am. I don't know that I'm on it very much.
Yeah.
But I think I am.
No worries. My goal on my Facebook group is to teach everyone how to wholesale for free. Like that's my goal because what I understand from doing this for so long is you can give everything. You can give the whole book to someone, and they still have to go through the trials and errors and ask questions. So my goal is let me teach it to you as much as I can. And if you want to talk to me, ask me questions, or sign up for a program, go ahead. But let me just give it to you.
Good message. Yeah.
So in my Facebook group, I asked a question, what is the biggest struggle most people are struggling with now? Most wholesalers, real estate investors in it, and they say it's finding motivated sellers, right? Or finding good leads. So what would you recommend for someone that's like, new or struggling with that? You got 42. How many deals did you say you did last year?
86.
86. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And I'm sure somebody would be happy with 10. So today, if they could take one action, what would you say for anyone that's wholesaling or trying to be a flipper to get deals, motivated deals?
I would say you need to kind of expand where you're searching. Like one trap a lot of us get into is we go on YouTube and we say how to find houses. I mean, I even do it when I buy my list. I just type into YouTube hottest lists on PropStream, right?
Right.
And whatever some guy says, I'm like, cool, I'm going to do that because I don't have time to figure it out myself. I'm not tracking it. I'm a low level list buyer, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, like, people get kind of caught up. Like, okay, well, I have to do it this way. Well, that's when in my career, I've found that I find deals like. We call it deal flow, and I like to think of like a river flowing, right? And every river has tributaries that fill it up. Like the river is the deals, but what am I doing to kind of get my river full? Well, one of those things that I got to do is MLS. Like, are you looking on the MLS as a wholesaler? I don't know if
Most
you are.
wholesalers do not.
Most wholesalers do not. You can make a lot of money. Clay Bryan, man, they love talking about some of those deals. They just pull right off the MLS and sell. and people say you can't do that because the cash buyer is going to get on there and see that it was listed and that you're marking it up. Who cares? If I'm the cash buyer, I'm like, well, is it a deal or not?
Right. You don't care where it came from.
So then there's agents. Like, are you talking to agents? Let agents bring you deals. I love working with agents because it's an army of people that are out in real estate every day. Mm-hmm. So I'm calling agents, I'm training agents, I'm talking to agents about what I'm looking for. Every time I see somebody like, I'm a new agent, I'm like, I'm your first client. I will buy every house you can find for me. Here's my criteria. There's online auction systems, hubzoo.com, auction.com. I've found so many houses on there. It's insane.
Really?
And I talk to people who are my peers in the industry, and they don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
Like, look on those. Mm-hmm. See if they have houses on your market. Learn how that works, Auctions, notice of default. Like, every one of these is a different thing. And then get creative. I bought a house off eBay once in Tooele. Bought a house on eBay. Like, I was just like, I wonder if people sell houses on eBay. Next thing I know, I'm buying a house on eBay.
That's crazy, man.
Like, what are you doing to kind of figure out other ways to buy? The IRS sells homes. What's it called? The DEA. They have an auction system.
That's crazy.
Where they steal homes from drug dealers and then they auction them off. Like, there's so many ways to find houses. If you're only doing lists, or you're only if you're having trouble, you need to pivot.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. So when I was tracking, like I told you, you get to a point where you stop counting, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was tracking, 80% of my deals come from the MLS. I'm going to work the MLS. As soon as that dries up, what do I need to go find? Let's go to the auction sites. Let's go down to the courthouse steps. Maybe that's where the deals are. Let's look at wholesalers. 2017 to 2019, I bought almost every deal from wholesalers because you guys had great deals. I didn't have to do any work. Perfect. I only have one deal from a wholesaler right now.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the ones I pick up, I end up wholesaling to somebody else, right? So it's just the market's changed. Like the wholesalers, either they got greedy or the deals just aren't there anymore. So I can see why a lot of them are like, I can't find any deals because you need to pivot and nurture a different part of your river. And what I try to do is every day I do a different finding tool for an hour. I have 1 hour every day that all I do is find. It's in my calendar, and I'm like, okay, and what am I doing?
Morning, afternoon? Do you?
I move it around a little bit, but most of the time it's right before lunch.
Okay.
Because sometimes I do cancel it. But, sometimes I do cancel it, but maybe it's Zillow for sale by owners, which I've had great success with.
That's amazing.
In the early days of Homey, it was so easy to buy a deal off Homey because the agents don't know what they're doing either. And turn around and sell it. Just be creative and find ways to and pivot because the market's changing and it's not always going to be lists.
Yeah.
That's not always going to be the best way to find deals.
Well, that answer is exactly what I was looking for because most wholesalers that learn from a coaching program or just from YouTube, it's like the generic pull list, text it, mail it, cold call it, blast it. Those lists are getting destroyed. Right?
Yeah.
They're by everybody.
I'm buying them. You're buying them. We probably called the same people today.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think thinking outside the box, for sale by owners, MLS, I think wholesalers think agents are almost your enemy, right? They're like, oh, they don't, if they knew I was a wholesaler like me, no, you can be.
You can tell them you're a cash buyer just like you tell the sellers.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. I know part of the problem is with wholesaling, you want everything to be systemized, right? I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And the lists is a great systemized thing. And if you got to go make friends with 30 agents, that's a hard thing to systemize. But if you can't find deals and you need deals, you're going to have to try some new things out. And
100%.
And I guarantee there's somebody out there that's going to teach an awesome course on how to systemize talking to 40 agents a day. You guys will figure it out.
Yeah, you put them in a drip campaign
if you're
or
trying.
something like that.
They're going to figure it out.
And
I'll look forward to watching it on YouTube and being like, I used to do that. I just never made a course about it.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's so many different ways. We've gotten deals from probate attorneys, from networking. I'm sure you've gotten some deals through since you've, worked with lawyers
I used to office
before.
with a divorce attorney and just get deals. Just he would be like, hey, there's a house flipper here that might make you guys a cash offer on your house right now, And so I just rented an office from them just to be able to get deals off the attorney and stuff.
See, that's why I think what you're saying right here is so valuable because, again, wholesalers, they just learned one way, right? And they think that's how they do it. But, look at all the ways you presented that we can get deals. And I guarantee 90% of people watching this have never even tried those.
Yeah, there's the funny thing that I love to say because I love movies and stuff like that is, and if you're new, of course you're new. Learn your system, master it, and then move on. But if you're having trouble, you need to grow. And in movies, there's a story arc and there is growth. You can be a one-dimensional character or you can be a three-dimensional character that people care about. And if you're doing the same thing you were doing 2 years ago to find deals, you're not growing. You're the same person. There's no growth. You need to have growth in real estate or you're not going to succeed. You're going to end up fizzling out.
Agreed 100% because I've been to so many coaching seminars and learned from so many people, and they teach the one-dimensional pay for paid marketing, wait till leads come in, talk to them. I think that's not the best way to do it. Yes, pay for marketing, but you also got to network, talk to agents, do all those things that you suggested. You do that, then your river's flowing.
Yeah.
But if you're just waiting on, especially right now with sellers knowing their properties are worth a lot, you come at them with a 50%, 60% offer, they're going to say, no way, So
yeah, exactly. Because we sometimes we make them seem dumb, but they're not dumb. No. And they want money just like the rest of us. But yeah, if a system works, use it and use it and use it and use it. But it's not always going to work. Like
Right.
I'm changing up what I'm doing at least every 6 months or more.
That's awesome.
Almost never has 1 year been like the year before it as far as finding deals. Almost never.
That's awesome.
And so
man.
I have to pivot. And when I pivot early and aggressively, I always have better years.
I love it. That's something everyone needs to take to the bank, especially in my business, because I have, my guys, my employees that I hire, and, they are set into a system, and they're like, I will call leads that come in. But, they're not thinking, well, let me do this and this and this, right? Because that's outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, I think that we would flourish.
Well, that's your job to think outside the box.
Definitely
and
my
then make
job.
a system that you can plug them into, because they're never going to do that. That's why they're so
Employees
good
are-
at where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, that's definitely stuff I think everyone can learn from. And one last question I have for you before we go, because it's been awesome talking to you. You're a fun guy. I can, you do On the John, you do all this stuff. Do you feel like? I guess my question is, how do you have so much fun? Like, is that a weird question? You just seem always to be like, having fun with your kids or having fun. Like it. You even told me you chased girls and partied all the time back in the day. Like it.
Well, I mean, I think, we get caught up on the wrong things on what's important, right? Like what really is important.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a Lamborghini and a private jet and you had to work really hard to get there, and you couldn't have fun doing that, have you achieved something that now you're going to have fun? Probably not.
Right.
You're probably going to keep like chasing whatever it was you were chasing. And so, it's nothing new or sage or anything, but just being present and realizing like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? And you have to have fun on purpose.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but if you wake up and you're like, I'm going to have fun today, you will.
Yeah.
Even if it's an awful day, you'll make fun of it more. You'll have jokes. You'll whatever. Like you're good. Like, live life on purpose. And if your purpose is to have fun, it's not not that hard. Like,
Yeah.
Just like, even if I suck today, I'm going to have a good time. Like so do it on purpose. How do you have fun every day? You do it on purpose.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you that is because I feel like so much of like the culture in America is just grind, work hard, and you're trying to achieve like a goal. But I see you, and you're kind of like, hey, I'm just having a good time, And I think people probably gravitate towards that, or they like that because it's not so much about, oh, I've flipped 80 houses and I'm a freaking the man, right? Do you feel like, do you try to personify that or like exude like, hey, I'm just me?
No,
Or,
I mean, obviously, we all like people who are transparent, and so I do try to be as transparent as possible. Plus, it helps me sleep better at night. I don't do a lot of the education stuff because I have a hard time. I used to teach seminars and do fulfillment. I have a hard time with all the people that aren't going to do what I say, and if they don't do what I say, they won't succeed, and then they blame me for it. And guess what? 95% of the people, 95% of you guys are not going to do what we're saying.
I know,
But that's
man.
just life.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that. I don't want to do that. So it's
so
easier
you did
for me to
educate back, and you did do a little bit of
and
education.
I still do a little here and there in certain situations. I have my ride along day where I borrow my sister's van and people just pay me to come with me for 2 days straight. I mean, we're doing one of those coming up in May. But I do a little bit, but I don't like to. And that's just me. I don't like to do, and people that do it, I love it, and it's great. And there's so many successful people who are my friends who have been a product of the education and the seminar systems that I can't say anything bad about it. But it's not my style.
Dude, I'll be
But
honest.
It helps me to be more authentic when I'm not trying to sell something to somebody.
Agreed.
I can just do my thing, and if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, there's plenty of other people that you can follow that are probably your
I
style.
know, man.
There's so much stuff.
And I've been starting the coaching thing just to help people because I know when I started I needed help. Like I started paying because I paid for speed. I could have probably figured out wholesaling by myself, but I probably would have taken me a long time. So I paid for the speed, and I know the need is out there, but it is very difficult to like know the actions they need to take and be like, I don't know if they're going to do that.
I know.
And it is kind of hard.
People don't take action. People are scared. Most people are. I've been there and you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're going to lose money. You're going to fail. And if you're not okay with that, don't pay anyone $40,000 to learn how to not be okay with that because it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's like, hey, pay me and I'm going to tell you to take action. Like that's what most coaching is. Like, hey, I'm just going to tell you to get to work. And that's mostly, that's kind of the hard thing to do is like, I'll accept money from you just to tell you to do something you probably won't do. because it's hard. But yeah, it's interesting. But thanks for answering the question about fun, because that is, I think people lose sight of fun, and you can enjoy the journey instead of let me enjoy once I get there. Let me have a good time once I get there, and you're having fun all the way.
There. when I had 19 foreclosures, I had fun. I was still waking up and saying I'm going to have fun today, even though today's really, really going to suck. And it works, man. Like it doesn't take that much to have a good time in life.
Dang, dude, I think that's something. So I have a morning routine where I like say what I'm grateful for, but I'm never like I'm gonna have a great time today. I'm gonna have so much fun.
Try it.
I'm gonna try it, bro.
Add it to the things you're grateful for, and just be like, you know what, today's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's the same affirmation thing that a lot of people teach,
right,
but
right.
Fun is something that we think is reserved for kids, and it's not. It's for everybody.
Yeah, you can have a great time. We're having a great time today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Investor Dive Nation, we've had John on here, and where can they reach you one more time before we head out?
Seriously, email for me is going the way of the dodo. Like, I feel like it's going to be snail mail in 5 years, so do not email me, even though if you want to, you can find me. But Instagram right now is the best way. I try to answer all my DMs, so @OnTheJohn. I'm there, and I'm trying to have fun.
All right. On the John. Have some fun. Thanks, Investor Dive Nation. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks.
See you guys.